Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Committed Critics, a pop culture podcast where we're not only committed to our opinions, but also each other.
Oh, wow.
Aww. I'm Kevin Lau, and Ryan and Zach are not here today, but today I'm joined with my friend, Mark Young.
Hello there.
Mark Young, we've known each other in college, and and Danny Vincent, another friend of the show, are hosting a podcast for Pixar. Well, not for Pixar, but a Pixar podcast called Looking for the Ocean, a Pixar journey. Do you mind just telling us about that and like a little bit about yourself?
Yes, it's definitely not for Pixar. It is not on behalf of
Yeah.
Pixar. We approach Pixar with a pretty critical lens.
Mhm.
That's right. I went to school with Kevin and with Danny. And I originally studied film with all of them, but I switched to a theater major, and now that's what I do. I'm an actor in New York, and I
Mhm.
also keep in touch with Danny, and he was like, let's do a Pixar podcast. So our Pixar podcast, which is Looking for the Ocean, a Pixar journey, is a show where we watch everything that Pixar has ever put out, and it is definitely a lot about the contrast between our opinions of things, because Danny is very open to a lot of things that Pixar has put out, and I am much more of the I don't know if I love everything that this money factory has forced down our throats.
Yeah.
You know. And that's
Mhm.
not, I mean, I definitely have loved some of the things that we've watched so far, and I'm looking forward to a lot of things. But that's kind of the dynamic of our show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and as you can tell from the title today, we're covering Lightyear, which is unfortunately one of the more negative parts of Pixar that even I can agree with. Like, nah, this ain't it.
Yeah. Would you say that you're more of a go-to, like Pixar fan?
I like Pixar. I mean, the only one I haven't seen is The Good Dinosaur, which it's like the one that almost no one has seen anyway, so I don't feel left out.
Oh.
But no, I enjoy a good Pixar movie. I really enjoy Soul, Luca, and Turning Red recently. I think like that's a really good direction they're taking it. And Lightyear is kind of like, it feels lame, in comparison. We'll talk more about it in a bit, but
Yeah.
But no, like I've enjoyed Toy Story and Finding Nemo and all that growing up, but also like I view it with a critical lens as well. So I don't have like a blind appreciation of Pixar. Not that Danny does either, but it's been a part of my childhood, and I just keep watching it because I think there's something in it that even adults can enjoy too. I've mentioned on the show before that I'm not a very nostalgic person, so I don't like go back and rewatch a lot of things from my childhood. So I mean, it's kind of hard to say like what my relationship with Pixar is. Like, I enjoy the movies they put out. I try to watch every one of them. I view them with a critical lens. I'm not a fan of Disney, so there's it's a complicated thing.
It's funny. I'm actually a little bit more of a fan of Disney than I am of Pixar, and I don't know if I had that opinion before I like started the podcast. And I mean, I'm not a fan of either of them as companies, but I think that
I would say as companies that might be a little problematic.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not really a fan of like either one of them, but I do think this is something I said in one of our earlier episodes. I'm much more likely to go back and rewatch like a 90s Disney movie than like The Incredibles or even like Ratatouille, which is probably like one of my favorites.
So you don't like Brad Bird movies? Okay.
Oh, did I just name like a bunch of Brad Bird movies? I mean, probably not.
Well, you just named two Brad Bird's Pixar movies.
They're both perfectly competent, and that might be what the issue is. But I mean I mean that's kind of my take on a lot of Pixar movies. Is in the podcast we really dig into these and we try to pull things out of these movies analysis wise, and Danny especially has a lot of great anecdotes about his childhood, because
Mhm.
these movies really are connected to some big moments in his life. Um, but it my general feeling about a lot of them is that they are very competent, and that's all great. Um, so
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. Like because they all adhere to like a very basic 3 act structure.
Hmm.
Like, it's like this is the idea, this is the formula, apply idea to formula, call it a day.
Yeah.
Um
I even felt
Obviously, like, some movies have more effort and imagination than others. Lightyear is not one of those imaginative efforts. Um but stuff like Coco and Luca Turning Red. Have you seen like Soul, Luca Turning Red?
yeah, I've seen all those. I love Turning Red.
Okay.
Um, I loved
Mhm.
Soul and Luca. Those are all fantastic. And
Yeah.
I much agree with Danny that like they should have been in theaters and they would have like done well. I don't really know how Lightyear is doing right now. Um, I think
It's
like not
it's
well, but
flopping.
like
I think it's Pixar's biggest flop.
biggest flop. Did it say because it was like because of pandemic stuff, or I don't know if they said why.
People, it's like I don't know. I don't think it's too, I think it's too late to blame the pandemic on it. It's more like just people wanted to watch Jurassic World instead. Jurassic World made a lot more money.
Mhm.
I can look it up too, but
Oh, well, it's I don't
Lightyear
know,
box
it's trivia.
office.
If it disappears from the
Oh,
public
Minions: Rise of
consciousness.
Gru's kind of just came out too, and then people been seeing Top Gun, so it's just
Mhm.
there are better movies. I don't know about Minions, but
Yeah.
there are better movies that people want to see, or like there are people more interested in seeing than Lightyear. And it's just like, I think it's just in general like Lightyear's not that interesting. The word of mouth is that Lightyear's just not is like just an okay movie. Um,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah, a
yeah,
lot of
I
movies
don't
out
know.
now.
It's there's a lot of factors to it. You can't just pinpoint it to one thing. And then
Yeah.
there is the inclusion of a lesbian couple in it that angers some part of the country. So
Mhm.
I guess there's that.
Yeah,
It's like, no, we're not. I'm not going to show this to my child.
that was kind of funny is when I was kinda doing my online research and you just type in Buzz Lightyear, the first autofill is like Buzz Lightyear gay, and I was like, "Lol."
Question mark? Does does
Yeah.
does Lightyear is
Buzz
gay?
Lightyear is gay. Yeah, so clearly the word of mouth has not been great for Lightyear. Um,
It's funny though, like every Disney movie that kind of like has this spark of controversy is like including an LGBT couple ends up being just a really mid tier movie.
yeah,
It was Finding Dory, it was Eternals, and now it's Lightyear. It's like, like none of this controversy is justifiable for like the lamest movie that we can get from this company.
that is like a secret thought of mine that I don't know.
It's like a secret marketing technique. It's like, oh, the movie's not that good. We can at least like leak this and get some word of mouth.
Yeah, well, it's you mean the controversy is creates sort of a
Like,
marketing pull.
yeah.
Hmm. Well, I think that's actually. I mean, this might be a little bit of tangent, but I wonder if it's kind of related. I think that movies which are I don't know if it would be good to say they're more well crafted or they're more artistic, they get kind of
Hmm.
more of a pass um, in terms of like what they're able to show on screen. I
Hmm.
think a lot of art films are like this, or like a lot of classic cinema gets away with a lot of things, air quotes,
Hmm.
thematically that a lot of, as you say, like mid tier movies don't. Um, for example, well, what am I thinking here? I'm just saying that the in my head, the buzz around a movie like
Hmm.
Crimes of the Future, just to pull out something I haven't seen that yet, or just in any like highbrow, whatever that you can think of.
Yeah.
The buzz is always the buzz. Um the buzz is always very, very different. It's related more to its like artistic merit. And even actually The
Right.
Irishman is a great example because The Irishman is a super problematic movie, which
Yeah.
is it's rarely talked about the problematic aspects of that movie. And while I wouldn't call a same-sex kiss problematic, I do you kind of see what I'm saying?
I
Like,
kind of I see what you're talking about. It's kind of like licorice pizza as well,
yeah,
where
that's a perfect like an art films get
Mhm,
so many passes for how they deal with social issues, gender
mhm,
relationships on all sides. Um
mhm.
and then there's something like Buzz
Well,
Lightyear,
because it's like
you know.
yeah, because Lightyear, when Pixar, Disney movies, they're mainstream movies. They're expecting everyone to go see it, whereas these art house indie movies, they're expecting no one to see it. So it's
Mhm.
like they're trying to convince you to watch it. Um,
Yeah.
but uh, but also it's oh man, it's also like there's so many elements to it too, because there's also like the lack of media literacy in the common in the mainstream audience. So like they'll pinpoint one thing in a movie that even though like yes, that thing the character does in the movie is problematic, the framework of the narrative says knows that it's problematic.
Mhm.
Um and so on and so forth. Like there's I'm not saying well again, not saying that the couple in Lightyear is problematic. It's not at all. If you have a problem with it, just grow up.
Yeah.
Um but but no, it's just like people just gonna get honed on like one thing instead of seeing the whole narrative as a whole as well. But hey, you know what? That's we're already 12 minutes in. Let's talk about Lightyear.
Oh, I've been respectfully avoiding
uh
that, but here we go.
yeah.
Well, we can do some good film criticism.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. No, it's there's a lot to talk about in how like media is consumed in the mainstream by the mainstream market. But you know, that's not this is not exactly the episode for that, but I'm glad we talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Um so Lightyear, then this episode's going to have spoilers.
Spoilers
Uh
for Lightyear, everyone.
Lightyear is a movie. What's up?
Spoilers for Lightyear, everyone. Sorry, I'm just go
Yeah.
on.
So Lightyear is essentially an in-universe movie in the Toy Story universe that Andy saw in 1995 that made him like want a Buzz Lightyear toy. And that led to you know, Toy Story 1, 2, 3, whatever. So in the world of Toy Story, this is just a movie Andy watched. So like we're all Andy now watching this movie in 2022. Uh so, what's one thing we liked about Lightyear? For one, it's the visuals for me. I really like the visuals of Lightyear. It's not as well directed as I want it to be. There's like some cool shots I wish it would like explore more. Um, Especially like there's like this one shot in the climax where it kind of almost sets up like a one shot falling sequence through space, but it doesn't follow through with it.
Mhm.
Um, there's I mean, there's also just some like really great lighting and cinematography, but that's one thing I liked. How about you, Mark?
Um, well, not to say the exact same thing. I mean, I really liked. I mean, I like the visuals too. It's we're in
Yeah.
contemporary Pixar. Everything looks fantastic.
Hmm.
I will say one thing that I liked, which is kind of a weird thing, and is this is something I liked and
Hmm.
something I didn't like, but I'll put it here anyway. Is the plot is so
Okay.
the plot is like so hard. Well, not the plot, but there's a lot of hard sci-fi in this movie, and
Hmm.
I don't know if there should be, but like I like me a good novel about settling on some faraway planet when you've like crash landed there, And I think that's a
Hmm.
really interesting situation. Um,
Right.
so it was neat to see that, and thinking if you think if I you know I think the interpretation that this is a movie that Andy watched kind of comes from outside of the text, as it were. I think in its own terms,
Yeah.
this is like a TV movie, and I think as like an episode of something, it's really neat to see a little movie that kind of casually tackles things like time dilation and what
Hmm.
it's like when you're in a you're in like a small colony and you experience time dilation, so you have to rapidly experience changes in leadership,
Right.
and government changes at a different rate than the people that are being governed. That's a
Right.
really interesting sci-fi concept to me. Um,
No. So, so I'm assuming you like Interstellar and
I don't like
other
Interstellar.
movies that deal with time dilation.
No, I don't like Interstellar.
You know what? That's fair.
Well,
That
my
was a
big thing
test.
about like sci-fi in general is I don't think movies do sci-fi very well. I think sci-fi
Okay.
is really I think sci-fi just works better for me when it's literary and you can really explore some of these concepts. Um,
That's fair. Yeah.
I think film sci-fi works really well when it goes very visual. Um,
Hmm.
like I really think like Interstellar is a beautiful movie. I think that parts of Interstellar, like when they describe a wormhole for the 5 billionth time in a blockbuster movie, is terrible.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the problem I have with
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of like sci-fi movies is you just don't have time to like really get into the concepts you're exploring. So don't bother with that. You know, make it an adventure movie.
Yeah.
No one's here for that. We can all go read when we go home. Um,
It is very interesting when like something like Interstellar like kind of like spoon feeds the information multiple times like, hey, you got it right, you understand what's going on, right? um like with
yeah,
the MCU
and
right
in a
now
book,
having like
you know,
multiple entries talking about the multiverse, explaining what it is.
yeah, and even then, it's a very superficial description. It's really just the movie being like,
Yeah.
all right, remember this little detail, remember this little detail, remember this little detail, but it's not like in depth. It doesn't give you something to chew on. It's
Yeah,
just like, it,
exactly. It's like, okay, cool, multiple universes, I get it. We don't need like five entries to explain it.
yeah, it really it kind of uses it as a well, it's sort of like a like a MacGuffin,
Hmm.
just something to make the plot happen, which is fine. But I know what
Exactly.
is
That
possible.
the audience doesn't really care about.
Yeah, yeah. But I care about it. But anyway, my thought about Lightyear is that like if I don't think about this as like some grand feature, but as just like an episode in the life of Buzz Lightyear, it's like, oh, that's pretty neat. Like I can
Hmm.
imagine this as being part of some other episodes, and it's just kind of interesting. If we're gonna dip our toes in anything, it's kind of nice that it was this time around. So that's something I liked about
Yeah.
Lightyear.
Well, I mean, there is a Buzz Lightyear show out there
Yeah,
from the early
it's way
2000s.
better than this.
It's way better than this movie.
It's
um,
yeah.
but no, another thing I liked about Lightyear is like there's the sequence when he starts doing the hyperspace travel and becomes like a montage of like going further and further into the future. Um,
Oh yeah.
and then like coming with those repercussions, as you were saying, and like seeing the his society evolve and like coming like having to deal with new leadership. I really like that whole sequence. Um, up to the point when he has to start escaping. No, actually, no. Up to the point when he lands back into on the planet after 22 years, because then I feel like that becomes a very different movie at that point.
Hmm.
Um, it's like not a better movie, I would say too. Like it forgets to deal with the personal ramifications or the emotional ramifications of traveling into the future. It's just like nope. And now we have Zurg fighting and hunting for Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about Zurg soon.
Yeah.
I have thoughts. Um, and then like there was another scene I really liked with like Buzz and his team learning to work together by merging the cones together. I think it was a nice visual representation of that emotional problem.
Mm.
And I think it was kind of well written and directed. But then like the rest of the movie is just kind of like very cheesily written. The direction's kind of like, it's fine, but like, it's like there should be more moments of silence and nuance to it, but it's just a lot of dialogue getting us through the story instead of visual storytelling.
Mm.
Yeah, not sure your thoughts on any of that.
Well, I think that, I mean, yes, I think that the movie kind of asks for some moments of silence, like you say, but like,
Mm-hmm.
what would that do? That's kind of why my thing that I like is something that I like and dislike is that the movie kind of sets itself some impossible tasks in terms of tone control. How can it be this
Yeah.
upbeat kids movie when it's dealing with really heavy issues?
Yeah, there's such like a tone identity crisis in the movie.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's
Well, because it's like, oh,
well,
sorry, I didn't mean to. Go ahead.
well, I don't know if it's an identity crisis. This is kind of I might say this. I might say this now because this isn't exactly something I dislike, but it's sort of how I was thinking about this movie is
Mhm.
like why it exists because I had heard the thing that's like this is a movie that Andy saw and like 20 minutes in I'm like, all right, I can't like process this if I think about it that way. I think
Yeah.
this movie made me think of the Transformers movies, which
Yeah.
were reboots, and they took elements from the mythology and the comics, and then they remixed it, and then they were cool because of the special effects, and they launched a new toy line. I think that's why this movie
Hmm.
exists, is to launch
Yeah,
new
pretty much.
characters and like reboot the figure. So to say it has an identity crisis, is it really trying to capture the old Buzz? I don't know if it is. I think it's trying to use the name Buzz Lightyear and just give us a wholly new character. And I don't think anyone wants that, which I think is part of, you know, to not talk about the movie's just inherent flaws, but to talk about like
Right.
audience reactions. I think that's a big problem is no one wanted this. And
Do
it's
you,
like a serious Buzz Lightyear who's not funny or whatever.
it's about the meta. It's the meta narrative. This is what they wanted. This is the movie they were trying to make.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would be shocked if there was like if someone like if like the director came out is like, yeah, that was the whole point of Lightyear. You're not supposed to like it. It's supposed to be like a cheesy fun adventure, kind of like the Transformers reboot. That'd be like, why? Why waste your resources like this?
Well, that's exactly why, because it would be very lucrative.
Well, apparently, according to the box office numbers, it's not.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I do think this was a failed attempt to start a TV show, and
But they already had a TV show.
But actually,
like, it's like, what's the
I
point?
actually don't. I don't. We talked about this.
No, I get what you're saying though.
Yeah.
Like kind of starting a new Lightyear TV show that would be like CGI like this.
Yeah, maybe like the Clone Wars.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would like a TV show of this though.
No one would. It's just, but I mean, this is the same guy who brought us, Finding Dory. So
True, yeah.
it's not like, whatever.
So, but like, because Buzz Lightyear himself is not an interesting character in this movie.
Yeah.
He, I see in your notes that like, why does everyone suck and they kill off all the likable characters? Like, it's kind of true.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's the other thing I like is the general character who's his friend at the beginning and then she dies.
Yeah. She's very interesting and well-rounded, and then we get to the cartoony characters, and I say cartoony in terms of like the actual depth of the characters, like pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah.
They have one thing they do, and then they do the thing at the end.
Yeah.
and it works. um, like the only one that kind of seemed the most interesting character throughout the movie was Socks the cat, which was the character made to sell toys.
Yeah.
Which was it's pretty interesting that the one character that's actually made to sell toys is actually one of the more interesting characters in the movie, even though he doesn't really do much. He just has like really funny lines that kind of juxtapose with his usual manner, which creates an interesting character, so to speak.
Yeah.
Would you buy a Socks the Cat toy?
No.
Should have Andy have bought Socks the Cat toy?
No. I didn't. I don't find any of these like humorous droids funny. Like,
okay,
they're not. I mean, like they are the ones who deliver the jokes, but I always think that these like they're underdeveloped in some way. Like I think the jokes are too easy.
Oh, definitely.
Like they're not.
Yeah.
It's not like you got like. I mean, sometimes they do, but it's not like you get a comedian to come in and like workshop that character for a little bit and really like work on those scenes. It's more like there's a comedian delivering these written lines, and they're like, I don't know, they're not quite there. That's how I felt about the droid in Rogue One. As I was like, I know that you're the comic.
Oh, definitely. Oh God, don't get me started on Rogue One.
I'm okay, awesome. I'm glad that you are with me on this. I also don't like Rogue One. And yes. I'm glad to support you. No,
it's oh God. The amount of people who told me like, oh, Rogue One's the best Disney Star Wars movie. I'm like, no, it's The Last Jedi. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I see in your notes that you say like you really relate to Buzz as team leader, but he's just a bad boss.
Oh.
Do you want to talk about that more?
Yeah. This is, this was me trying to pull something out of the movie, but I think, and I mean, you can talk about this too. This is something that you've experienced in your life. I mean, me, if I have a lot of day jobs where I'm like in charge of people, and you have to do management of your resources, which is people with different talents, and that skill has been something really interesting for me to learn. And sometimes I'm in the position that Buzz is in, like in the beginning of the movie, where he wants to like do everything himself, and then it doesn't work out, or he's like impulsive or something like that. And then he doesn't exactly learn not to be later on. He just I don't think the internal logic really works out in terms of like lessons learned, because he basically is just impulsive in a group now. It's not like they make smarter decisions. They just get lucky and there are more of them.
Yeah, I know. I did want to say like the overall theme of the movie, like Buzz's character arc, it feels like half an arc, like only half is fixed, but the other half that is the actual problem doesn't get taught at all.
Yeah. Well, but so the thing that just stood out to me was, a lot of characters, there's the line that a lot of characters repeat, which is like, "Can I help you with anything?" Which is like a weirdly a kind of a milquetoast line for the environment that they're in. And then someone is like, "No," because they're like terrible at whatever they're doing. And that's a relatable situation. But also like, if Buzz is like in charge, he should know how to like deal with people. And he should know, like he should already be able to like tell people what to do based on their strengths, and which he is in like Toy Story. Like he's misguided, but he's an effective leader, and that's why the toys like him. And of course, this character has nothing to do with the Toy Story Buzz, but that was something that kind of bothered me. Is that like just the thing that like, why do people like him when he's so bad at his job?
Right.
He's not even like he doesn't even like try to do something the right way. He just does everything wrong, and people are still like,
Mhm.
ah, well, Buzz, you'll be okay.
Yeah, it's yeah, especially when he like how big he messes up.
Yeah.
But also I think there's a missed opportunity to teach a lessons like, that failure, like part of being a leader comes with like part of being a leader is learning to accept failure and learning from it and moving on. Um but also like, try to make the least amount of mistakes possible. So like Buzz isn't learning from his mistakes. He's like you said, he's still impulsive. He's still kind of making the same mistakes.
Hmm.
Um but they're just getting lucky. So he's like, "Oh, let's just do it together as a team instead of by myself. That'll work, right?"
Yeah.
Um so yeah, it's very thematically the movie is just not all the way there. Not where it could be. Um
Hmm.
so yeah, so kind of move things along. I mean, we kind of already like talked about it, but like things we didn't like about Lightyear. Um for me, it feels just very unimaginative for especially for a Pixar movie. It's just like, it's like it just kind of compiles a bunch of sci-fi movies together and then does it and then also tries to be a cartoony Pixar movie as well. And it's like it becomes has weird tonal shifts. Um in the end, just not sure what the film knew what it wanted to be. And then I'm not sure if you noticed this, but I felt like there was like an accidental pro-life message in the movie as well when it came to with Buzz wanting to preserve the current timeline when alternate universe Buzz alternate timeline Buzz Lightyear wants to go back in time and save everyone and so they don't have to suffer on an uninhabitable planet.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's I didn't even like connect it. I was, if there's a villain, I assume they're gonna say something right and then be killed, you know. Um,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
but I see what you mean.
Uh
But I don't know.
it's not like super in your face like, oh, the pro life. It's just kind of like, oh, this was an accident. I think like this someone didn't think this all the way through, and plus we have unfortunate timing with it right now.
Yeah, and that just goes, and yeah, you're absolutely right. And it goes back to at the beginning, just like, why is this the story of Buzz Lightyear's movie? Why he strands a colony of people on the planet, um,
Hmm.
and like it's enormous. That it's truly the
Yeah.
biggest thing that happens in the movie happens in the first 10 minutes. Um,
Yeah. It was very strange.
yeah,
Very strange first 20 minutes of the movie.
yeah. And it's funny too because I even like when I was watching it, there's the shot when they're flying the ship and they cut to all the people asleep inside the pods, and I didn't really
Hmm.
register it before then, but then they cut to the people and it's like that device where they want to increase the tension, and I was like, oh man, there they are, and they're increasing the tension, but surely they're not going to crash, and then they did, and I was like, whoa, this is the movie now, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty big opening.
Yeah. I
But
yeah.
also so Zurg turns out to be Buzz from an alternate timeline and also from the future question mark. The timeline of the time travel stuff doesn't quite line up. I don't know if you had any insight on that.
Oh, not
Like
really. I mean, I
cuz
didn't, you know.
you just kind of bought it and like moved on.
Well, I kind of get it, you know, if like if you're coming from the future and something's already happened. I mean, I I keep it honest with you. I was kind of like going in and out of this thing. So
Yeah. Oh,
when
wait, so was it like so was it like Buzz landed on the planet and then he aged up and then he went back in time to the current Buzz? Is that what happened?
mm, well, I think what happened is they don't really like explain it very well, but you know at the end where the commander comes out and he's like, "You're under arrest."
Mhm.
So I think what happened was instead, because when Buzz arrives on the planet, he's immediately attacked by
Mhm.
robots. And that
Right.
wouldn't have happened if all the time travel stuff had happened. But if that weren't the case, then
Yeah.
he would have landed on the planet and and they would have tried to arrest him, and then he would have gone back up into space and tried to do the hyperspace jump again, which the future Buzz
Mhm.
does, and that's what sends him into the future where he finds the time travel technology which sends him back. I think it's
Okay.
difficult because and it's never really shown in a way that would make you notice it. Excuse me. But like there's the colony is still there
Yeah.
the whole time. Um
Yeah, it's with the laser shield. You don't notice it until the end.
yeah, which is
Which I thought was strange too. Is like, why are we not seeing the colony in its current state? I feel like that's important to the story.
yeah, yeah. But I mean I think that's my take. That's where the issue comes from is that the colony I mean, it's convoluted anyway, but I think that would have really cleared it up is that the colony is there the whole time.
Hmm.
And that's where the time difference happened.
Yeah. Oh well.
Oh well.
What? Do you have any other notes of one of things you didn't like about Lightyear?
Oh, I think I said them all already. It kind of got jumbled,
Think you said them all.
but yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of this is a movie where it's like, well, I kind of like this one thing, but there's some caveats to it, and then it just kind of goes into like a tangent of caveats.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
no, I mean, like, so I mean, final thoughts on Lightyear. I think we talked about it. Like you even said like it felt like a TV movie or like a TV pilot,
Hmm.
but like which in its own sense kind of makes it feel like a Disney Plus film more than any other Pixar project that were put on Disney Plus with no theater run.
Hmm.
So it's just weird to have like the first theater run of a Pixar movie since the pandemic. It's like here it's this mid tier movie. It's fine, doesn't really do anything,
Yeah.
but we're making people upset anyways
Yeah.
because there's a lesbian couple in it.
Yep.
I think after the scene, the shot after the montage scene where like there's the lesbian kiss, there were two families in my theater that walked out and they didn't come back.
Wow.
So at least I don't think they came back. I wasn't really paying attention. I was trying to watch the movie, but I don't think they came back.
Can't miss
So
a frame.
mhm.
Weird.
Next time there's a hate crime, I know who to blame.
You know who to blame just because you just saw some like shadows
Those two,
stand up.
it's like it's like there were two families in my theater. They walked out. I know they did it. I don't know who they are, but they did it.
Lightyear is like the new Joker.
So any final thoughts for you on Lightyear?
Time will really tell what this movie was all about. I think it is
Mhm.
just something that was made to make money, and I think it was made to start spin-offs. And I think
Mhm.
it is their audience, I think it is there to steal your money. So beware.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts on Lightyear. And of course, you can dig into it like we do, like anyone can with any movie. But in the end, I think mid tier film.
when there's nothing really that genuine in the movie, it's most likely made to make money.
Yeah,
Like obviously every film is made with the idea of like, oh, maybe we can get some money out of it. Especially indie films, you make it so you can sell it and pay your rent.
yeah, yeah. But there's no
Uh,
great lesson to be learned from Lightyear.
yeah, yeah. So on that note, Mark, where can people find you?
Well, everything that I'm up to just on my own is you can find it through my website, markyoungperformer.com. And that pretty much has everything that I do on my own. But also my podcast that I mentioned earlier, I'll say it again. It is Looking for the Ocean, a Pixar journey that I host with Danny Vincent, who has been on here before. And you can find us on all the socials, Looking for the Ocean podcast. All of our handles are a little bit different, and they're scattered all about. But you can
Yeah.
find us everywhere on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And yeah, they're chill and they're very conversational. They're very much like this, but we bring them out to an hour long. We have we do a little bit of like stuff going on in our lives, and we play some games too. So yeah, please
Oh,
check us out.
all right. I, I, I've listened to the first few episodes, so I was gonna say like, oh, it's only 30 minutes, but now you're saying they're hour long. Like, oh, like they're expanding.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Well, my thing is like I like to listen to things while I make breakfast, and I
Mhm.
was finishing our podcasts before I finished like my breakfast routine. So I told Danny, I was like, even for these shorter ones, we need to like make something that I can have during my whole breakfast. So the it's all
Full hour
content.
breakfast. Here we go. Who eats breakfast these days? Not me.
Not
That's for
you.
sure.
Is this an anti-breakfast podcast?
No, I think Zach and Ryan eat breakfast. I'm like the only one that doesn't eat breakfast.
Oh wow. I need breakfast. I'll tell you what, it's not like a most important meal of the day, but I need something to like get me up. And
Nah, that's when you eat like a banana. That's it. I'm good for until lunch.
oh well.
On that note, if you want to follow Mark, he lists all his socials, and also check out Looking for the Ocean, a Pixar journey, the Pixar podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Committed Chris, that's COMMITTED, CRITS, on YouTube at Committed Critics, spelled the same there spelled the same there as it is here and everywhere else. And on TikTok at Committed Critics, all one word. Special thanks to our current patrons, Davey Peppers from Game Mechanics, Ryan Kowalkowski from Ryan Plays Drums, Andy Phillips from Andy Phillips, Jody Wright, and Devin Vonderhyde. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.